We use focus groups to collect some of the data. We had 43 participants in the Tongan focus groups, 26 in the Chamorro. You can see how they're divided up. They're divided up by inability parents. We did key informant interviews with a number of different key informants from different sectors that would have a bearing on this issue. We have a bunch of demographic data, and we're just going to fly through this. So this is really interesting to look at when we have more time. One thing here that we did take a look at, just some of the highlighted stuff is some of the modal information. So these are the most common answers that we have here. Most people were employed. Most people were not students. Family size, the household size, that we kind of aggregated that in a little bit of an odd way, so that we actually can't look at. Just for this presentation, we aggregated it so that we couldn't really look at household income and poverty line and stuff like that. Although of the individuals, about 22% were below the federal poverty line. Most identified as married and heterosexual. In terms of national origin, about 40% born in the United States, and then the other half were born either in Guam or Tonga, for the most part. Again, kind of self-reported race and ethnicity. And then here are some of the results. So we actually narrowed it down to about 7 themes in the Tongan community, about 6 themes in the Chamorro community. So we'll just go through the themes really quickly. The first one in the Tongan community was opposing forces in the community influence risk. And so kind of what this looked like was just that, here's a quote that's talking about kind of some differences in how gender plays a role. And for among boys, there is a perception that they're at higher risk, that they engage in riskier behavior, and that of girls, they engage in riskier behavior less often, which is really interesting because that's kind of carried out by some of the information that was later released after we had already conducted our study. Also, family reputation and family pride, that had both positive and negative influence. People were, really proud of their family. They would perhaps, abstain from risky behavior, whereas it was also maybe a barrier to communicating about the issue in an open way that could promote safe behavior or not engaging in risky behavior. Another one was that community concern regarding premarital pregnancies and the cost of STI prevention. Most of the risky behavior was detected in the process of looking at premarital pregnancies rather than actually screening for STIs. Misinformation persists regarding sexual health. That one's pretty straightforward, both in terms of limited awareness about the connection between these 3 diseases, but also in terms of what behaviors bring what sort of risk. Intergenerational communication. This is one of the most important themes. Basically, sex and sexual health is a very taboo subject, very difficult to talk about between parents and youth. Also, parent lack of education and kind of an island style of parenting presented additional barriers for blind or eligible. Sources of knowledge limited mainly to friends, school, and internet rather than formal education on these issues. That could prevent some barriers as well. And then, as some of the other panelists were talking, there are other barriers as well that are other contextual problems that may present additional barriers, whether it's poverty, language access, immigration status, a lot of these other things that also provide barriers to screening or gaining information about these issues. And then there's also the parent's role in key prevention. For better or for worse, parents play a huge role in terms of either being a gateway to access or being a barrier to access. And some of the qualitative results for the Chamorro, HIV and HPV risk is viewed largely as an individual responsibility and something that individuals need to account for themselves. maybe perceiving it more as a risk for other communities or other sectors of communities more than themselves will even while engaging in risky behavior, again, provide additional risk. Again, lack of intergenerational communication during sexual health. Again, the school and media as the primary sources of information. Community barriers to screening, again, very similar barriers. Family pride and Chamorro pride and religion, again, have potential both to be protected and provide additional risk. Then really quickly, there are some similarities, as you saw, between those themes, and I think that we can cautiously begin to hypothesize that there are patterns and use that as a baseline to kind of pull out what some of the dissimilarities are and craft interventions. And then both communities wanted third parties, for instance, the CBOs that helped facilitate this project, to take a leadership role in providing this education. And then there's kind of a list of the differences between communities that we won't go into over time. And then just kind of a summary of the interpretation.
Yeah, we see that there are aspects in both communities that seem to be protected, that Brian mentioned, but these young adults are still engaging in risky behavior, so there's a disconnect there. And that communities, especially the young adults, seem to be underestimating their risk for HIV and HIV, especially HIV among heterosexuals, because the community sees themselves as not having many gay members, and also that HIV is seen as a woman's disease, so these are being underestimated. These reasons here were the reasons that Brian listed. Finally, we think, this is our last slide, that clearly there's a need for education, but that's not enough. You've heard about this ecological approach many times in communities. We definitely need to hear. We make recommendations that the church be involved in the talking community and communication, and also mentoring, and also in the Chamorro community that focus can be in community leaders, especially youth leaders. And we think that both communities might reflect on confidentiality issues which seem to be preventing people from seeking screening and testing. We acknowledge all the wonderful people who helped us with the study, which we'd like to name. Several of them are here. And people both at CSUF and in both community-based organizations. We'd like to thank our participants. And we're funded by NCI. And sorry we went over, but thank you very much.
Thank you. And I guess I was in such a hurry to go to American Samoa because trying to beat the snowstorm that's about to ensue in Denver.